Well, spring is finally upon us, and I thought I'd share with you a piece that I actually had published in the Washington Post a few years when our kids were still young. And I'd like to share with you something that happened as spring was about to happen, and maybe have this thought in mind as we move into spring, as we're now already into spring. Here goes. I hope you like it. It was just before the start of spring several years ago when our children were still young, and I'd gone through one of those afternoons with all three of them that compelled me to exercise my fatherly duty to lay down the law, all in my best whining wah 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 voice, just like Charlie Brown's teacher. I made it clear that they needed to wah 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 wah, follow some basic rules of conduct around the house that they had been told wah 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 so many times that they should wah 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 know these rules by heart. And so wah 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 wah, they would be denied privileges of basic and familiar rules were not properly followed. Wah 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 wah. It was a virtuoso droning dad performance, it really was, but they actually snapped to. Then later in the evening, I came downstairs from putting our daughter Libby to bed and went into the kitchen before checking on her brothers. Our son Jay was padding around the kitchen fixing 2 cups of water with ice cubes, clearly on orders from his older brother Ben, who still had the power to con his younger brother into butler duty. I was about to remind Jay to put away the tray of ice cubes before leaving the kitchen, one of those wah 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 rules, when I heard, I'm not kidding you, I heard Vivaldi's The Four Seasons. I heard Vivaldi's Four Seasons coming from the boys' bedroom. I was pretty familiar with their music collection, but I couldn't figure out where they got Vivaldi. I mean, for instance, I was reasonably sure that none of their Muppet movie soundtracks included a selection of the Four Seasons. So with perplexed curiosity, I asked Jay, "What's that music?" "The Four Seasons," he answered matter-of-factly. "You mean Vivaldi's Four Seasons?" Jay said, "I don't know who it's by, but yeah, it's the Four Seasons. We took it from your CD collection." Jay told me all this over his shoulder on the way out of the kitchen. Then he paused at the door and said, "I really like it. My favorite part is spring." "Oh, really?" I thought to myself. Jay still had to deliver his glasses of water, so he moved purposely to their bedroom. I tagged along, company down the hall by the closing strains of spring. Ben was sitting on Jay's bed waiting for his drink, and in front of Ben was a game of Parcheesi laid out, and the game is already underway. Jay gave Ben his water, then sat down to drink his own, and joined in finishing the game. Our 2 boys, the great-great-grandsons of Calabrian immigrants, suddenly transformed from the ages of 8 and 10 into a couple of old Italian men sitting in their favorite table at the social club. Ben then commented that he really liked this kind of music and wondered if we could get more of it. "You bet," I thought to myself. He too liked spring, he told me. "It's the most interesting part," he said. Well, what do you know, I thought to myself. We said prayers, I kissed them goodnight, and left them to their water, Parcheesi, and Vivaldi. They promised to hit the sack once the game was over. I went back to the kitchen. The ice cubes were still out. Condensation perspired in beads and streaks down the sides of the tray into tiny pools on the counter that were also spilling down to the floor. I couldn't help it. Deep down, this wah, 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 wah echoed in the back of my mind. And suddenly, out loud to myself, I just shouted, "Who cares? Who cares?" Soon it would be spring. Jay and Ben's favorite part of the Four Seasons. And so this spring, may you be filled with surprises, encountered all sorts of surprises that invigorate your soul, especially that surprise about the empty tomb and all that followed because of it. Take good care.